sections, and I'm going to show you how to do slavery and the Constitution. So you had a lot of people when they wrote the Declaration of Independence talking about equal rights for people. But it doesn't really make sense if you think about Americans' history, because how does slavery exist if they talked about everyone being equal? Like, how do women not get rights if it's supposedly everyone's equal when this thing was first written? So this assignment is going to go over the reasons why slavery was allowed and in the way it was written, because we're going to look at the founding fathers and their basically viewpoints when they were making this Constitution, and how they could say that everyone could be equal, but then still write unequal laws. We have been tried hard as a United States to fix these errors in judgment, and there's a lot to like work on. But this kind of gives you an idea of how did it even get there in the first place, because those are really different ideas. You can't say everyone's equal and then not give everybody rights. So how did this happen? So this first section where you're writing something, it's going to give you these different quotes. So it is much to be wished that slavery may be abolished. The honor of the states, as well as the justice and humanity, in my opinion, loudly call upon them to emancipate these unhappy people. To contend for our own liberty, and to deny the blessings to others, involves inconsistency not to be excused. So it's pretty clear that he is against the idea of enslaved people. You also have Thomas Jefferson saying, "Nothing is more certainly written in this book of fate than that these people are to be free." So another time in which Thomas Jefferson is saying that there should be freedom, but yet he writes a constitution where there's slavery. So these is kind of giving you ideas of where these people are at. So you're going to answer these questions about the documents that you wrote up there. So it says, would you describe these views of slavery positive or negative? Explain why. So when you're reading these, do you think they're positive? Like, do they believe in it or do they not believe in it? And then how does John Jay expose the hypocritical nature of slaves in his 1786 quote? So and when they're talking about John Jay, they're talking about this guy right here. And then it says hypocritical. So if you don't know what hypocritical means, it means to behave in a way that suggests one has a higher standards than is truly the case. So if you're being hypocritical, like you're saying one thing but you mean another. So you're going to tell me how does he show the hypocritical nature of slavery? How is it hypocritical? Oops, sorry. And then down here, even though these men all agree their views on slavery, it is widely practiced in the United States until 1865. Do you expect people on opposite side what do you expect people on the opposite side of slavery would say? So the people who were on the opposite side, meaning they agreed to slavery, what do you think they would say about all of this that they're saying? After that, you're going to read 3 sources. So you're going to read source 1, source 2, and source 3. And then you're going to fill out this graphic organizer about those 3 sources. So we're going to go over source 1. So source 1 says, the true question is whether or not the southern states shall be a part of this country. Is it slavery? Wrong? Maybe. But if the northern states truly think about their interest, they will not oppose the increase of slaves, because they will profit by selling the goods that slaves produce. So this guy's trying to justify why slavery should exist. He's saying, well, if it exists, then the North's going to make more money, so it's in their interest. It's not a very good argument, and it's going to fall apart over the decades, but that is the belief that they had. They're like, well, they're not going to deny it because they're making money off of it. And that's really all they were thinking about. They were not thinking about these enslaved people who are brutalized in history and who face the repercussions of that even now. They are just thinking about money. And that becomes a big part of the Constitution. How can they keep their source of money? And the northern states know they have to appease the southern states in some way in order to get them to sign this Constitution. Otherwise, you're just going to have 2 different nations in the U.S. This is actually going to be an important source. These sources are very important when we go to Civil War at the end of the year, when you guys go over the Civil War, because it comes back to a lot of these things. So if I go here, it's going to ask me who the author was. So if I go back to source 1, the author is right here. When it asks, is this document a primary or secondary source? So was it written by somebody in that time period? Or is it written by somebody like who wrote a book about it who's not from that time period? This said that he's a representative to the Constitutional Convention from South Carolina. So he was there when all this stuff was going down. So this would be an example of a primary document. And then it says, summarize what the author was trying to say. Well, he's, like I said, he's saying that the southern states, they're trying to get the southern states to join the United States. So they have to appease the southern states, even though they don't like it. And you're going to get something good out of it, so you might as well do it. It's a very, not a very narrow way of thinking about things, and definitely not thinking about human life, but that's their thinking, so that's kind of what you would describe there. And then it says, in 15 words or less, according to this author, why was slavery permitted to happen in the land where all men are created equal? So how could slavery even exist if this whole idea was that everybody could be equal? And here you go right here, money. It comes down to money and making sure that the southern states join the United States. That is what he's saying right here. They want the southern states to join. Southern states say no unless you let us have this. They're trying to kind of come to an agreement. So it was really about, we wouldn't have a United States if we didn't have the southern states in the America either. We would just have two different countries at that point. So they appeased the southern states, not a good idea, but they did, to get them to join the Constitution. And it all came down to money. So you're going to do the same exact thing for source 2 and source 3. And the main thing I just want you guys to remember is a primary source is by somebody who was there, who is writing about it, who is there. And then and then a secondary source is somebody who wrote about it. So it means they were not there. So it's like if I wrote a textbook about slavery, I was not there. I did not experience any of that. So my writing would be a secondary source. Now, if I was there, then I would be a primary source. So that's how you do this assignment. If you have any questions about it, or if you just need extra help, just make sure to stay in the Google Meet. But other than that, that's it. So thank you for listening.